Transformational Tuesdays.
Thank you, Rachel. What a great producer you are. And I am so excited to be here with Dr. Julia Bowlin. Julia, hi. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for the confusion this morning. This is a whole new thing. Julia, let me just tell people about you a little bit. I'm going to read your bio. Julia Bowlin, MD, is a physician, an author, a speaker, an educator who is consistently voted one of the nation's top family doctors by the Consumers Research Council of America. The International Women's Leadership Association has also declared her a woman of outstanding leadership. And when Dr. Julia isn't working with patients on developing their conscious awareness and strengthening their emotional intelligence, when it comes to illness detection, prevention, and treatment, she instructs students at the University of Dayton and Marrietta College as an associate clinical professor of medicine, and also serves as the director of allergy practice at the Family Health Services of Darke County in Ohio. So, Julia, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you're able to join us today. We're excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So now, you speak my language, and I'm really excited that we're going to have this conversation. Now, one of the biggest things that I love about what you're speaking about is personal awareness medicine. Let's talk a little bit about what that means, so that people who are listening in or watching us live on transformationaltuesdays.online can have an idea of what personal awareness medicine is.
You got it. After being medical practice for many, many years, actually 22 plus years, and seeing over 100,000 patient visits, the one thing I really, really realized is that most of my patients know what they should do to think better, feel better, and be more vivacious. They even know how to do it. They have all the access to education, resources, group clubs. But what they don't realize, so many times, they don't understand why they're not doing the things they need to do. So I took the branch and I ran with it, and I started creating programs centered around the why behind people, failures and things that they want to do.
Mm-hmm. So I know we're going to get into that in a bit. We're going to what do you find is the biggest challenge in your medical client and corporate wellness in direct relation to what you were just saying, and your wellness coaching when it comes to relating to individuals?
Well, I think most of the time people aren't aware of keeping them back or holding them back. They know what they should do and how to do it, but they just don't understand what is that piece about how I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. How does past relationship with myself and with others, my family, my society, my culture, why is that and how is that affecting me and how I'm behaving now?
Yeah, and what do you usually find out is the why? What do you find out is the why, and how do you address that with your clients?
Well, there's many, many layers to that question right there. I thought we all know that to attain something, you have to have a little bit of passion. You have to have some drive to do it. And again, you also have to have a little bit of education. But most oftentimes, it's the permission piece that we're missing when it comes to the caring and the keeping of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So it's that piece that says, you know what, you have a right, a duty, and a responsibility to do this for yourself. You have a right to self permission to do it. And there's many steps that I take people through in my educational courses on how to understand that permission for yourself.
Mm-hmm. So, and all of this is, as you said, you've got this, I want to say this word, it's power, but it is spelled out differently than the word power. And it stands for personal awareness and responsibility. Let's talk about this, this acronym that you have. To infuse power into each one of us as individuals in order to be able to have better health care practices?
Well, power, as we know, means that you have the energy and strength, and you can own what you need to do. You're empowered to do that. But to be empowered, you have to be aware personally of the things that might be holding you back, and you need to become responsible for making those changes. So in order to become personally aware and responsible for yourself, you need to understand what makes you tick. Mm-hmm. You need to understand what it means to love yourself, to honor yourself, to cherish yourself, be your own best friend, and like my book says, be your own best half. Learn how to love, yourself, honor yourself, and care yourself forever after.
Mm-hmm. Talk about your book for a second. What's the title of your book? I love the title of this book.
The title of my book is To Me, I Thee Wed. Be Your Own Better Half.
Yeah. And I think as women, we tend to give our power away to other people or give our attention to other people rather than ourselves, when really in reality it's like that thing on the airplane, you know, put the oxygen on yourself first and then help another person. What's the biggest obstacle that you have with people, especially women, in getting that message across so that we can really live our lives from a powerful place, whether we're talking about our health, whether we're talking about our relationships, and they're all intertwined, as we know, and I know that your program addresses that. So what is the biggest thing that you've seen, or one key thing that you can offer to the listeners to get out of that trap of putting everybody first besides you?
Well, I think you have to stop thinking that that's right and okay and expect it of you. You know, it's an internal core value that at some point or another, if you are putting everybody else first and not yourself, you've developed a core value. You think that is the way it should be. You have to stop and figure out at what point in your life did you hit that realization that everybody else is more important than you. Sometimes it's the church doctrine that you put others first, you do unto yourself. You know, sometimes it's your mother telling you that, your father said, you know, all women should serve men first, take care of your husband, take care of your children, take care of it. But, you know, I think it comes from, at some point or another in your life, someone passed on that belief system that other people should be first. So you need to stop now and just rethink that. Say, is that really working for me now? Mm-hmm. I change this thought pattern. And how do I go about changing it? And, you know, it's a simple matter of saying, I'm not going to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's learning the words when somebody comes up and asks you to do something that isn't good for you, healthy for you, because you should be exercising during that hour. Mm-hmm. You should be learning about eating or doing self-help programs like this, that you need to put that as a priority and think, no, I wish I could help you. I wish I could, but I have a prior obligation during that time. Because your prior obligation is you taking care of you. Yeah. That's okay. I wish I could, but I'm busy. I have other things I have to tend to first.
Mm-hmm. I think no is one of the hardest words for a lot of women to say, and a lot of women don't realize it is a complete sentence. You know, there doesn't have to be anything that follows it. We have the right to say no to anything. And I will raise my hand and say that I have been one of these people that does not know how to say that, or has not known how to say that. I've changed my ways. My brother-in-law, funny story, used to say to me, I'm gonna teach you how to say no, because I was always taking on so many things that I was running around like a lunatic, doing so many things for other people, and I would be last on the list, and I'd be too exhausted to do for myself by the time the day was over. So he said to me, I'm going to teach you to say no. So he would call me and ask me to do stuff, and I would say, oh, I think I can fit that. He says, no, you're supposed to say no. It's, you know, crazy. But so how did you come up with this acronym for PAWAR?
Well, I believe absolutely everybody should have a coach, a mentor, or a supporter. If you don't have cheerleaders in your corner to help support you and guide you, you need to find people like programs like this to do that. And it was through a coach of mine, we were talking, trying to drill down, what is it about that I really liked in my medical practice? What I think was missing? And that piece that I was telling you is that why piece. My patients over and over were saying, I just don't know why I don't do it. Mm-hmm. And it was that why piece. And so we pondered and worked, and she came up, and you know what you're doing? You're just teaching personal awareness and responsibility. And I went, yes, that's what it is, what I teach. So personal awareness medicine came as a result of that. And as a result, I'm also trademarked in awareness medicine and the PAWAR approach.
Yeah, so not only are you doing this for your clients that you see face-to-face at your clinic, but you also have an online program. So you are getting this message of personal awareness and responsibility out to the world. Tell us a little bit about, why you came up with that. And there's so much stuff available online. What is it about this that people are really drawn into with your program?
I think they're really drawn into it because it has a unique spin to it. My PAWAR program that's online, it's not only to individuals, but I have corporations that are now using it as an ancillary product that they're already existing health and wellness programs. Most health and wellness programs, they tell you what you should eat, how to exercise. They do all that stuff. Very, very important. But what they're lacking is that mindset medicine piece. What is it that's doing this? What is it that's in our core values bring us back? So my product, it's ancillary, it's new, it's different. It just adds that extra piece that goes really, really well to other weight loss and exercise programs and health and wellness programs. So it's 26 small videos ranging between 2 minutes and 12 minutes, nothing overwhelming. There's over 39 customizable worksheets that you just trickle through. You work through step by step. You're layering simple concepts, simple ideas over time. And it's just lots of information, but it's so much common sense information that most of us just don't take the time to stop, think, and reflect. Because we're, again, serving up things in our life outside of ourselves. So giving yourself a dedicated time where you sit, see a small video, do one worksheet, and allow yourself to grow mentally, physically, and spiritually on a steady, cumulative basis over a period of however long you want to do it, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, or a year. I have people doing it over a year that really like that pace. So it's a program that absolutely anybody can do when you're ready and in a pace that you're comfortable with.
And that's something else too. I think, like for me, with my body issues, I'm overweight, and I always want all of the weight that I gained over the years to be off yesterday. How do you convince people that it didn't come on all at once, it's not going to get off all at once, or this habit or whatever it is that they're working on with your program of personal empowerment? How do you get over that, yeah, but I want it, and keep them engaged so that they can continue to, at their pace, move forward?
Right. In the very first module, I go over step by step how to keep you accountable, how to plan it and build your schedule, the tools that you're going to need, such as certain calendars with alerts. How many of us use your alert? Oh my goodness. I love my alerts on my phone and my computer. Why? Because you forget. Life gets busy. So I give you tools and I give you handouts and I give you ideas and I help you become accountable throughout the process. But you can schedule it when you need it. Trick is you have to place it. As in any plan, you have to decide is your passion level an 8 out of 10. If you want to lose that weight, it's got to be a passion level 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And now, Rachel, you just said accountable. We were talking last week or 2 weeks ago on Transformational Tuesdays of accountability and alignment. So I think that, before we can be totally accountable to another person, we have to be in alignment with ourselves, with whatever it is that we're doing in order to be able to make that change. And I'm sure that you've got programs and whatnot that go with whatever it is that somebody is looking to change. You know, a food plan for an exercise program for people who are looking to be healthier, and I'm sure for everything else. With so many things that are available, that not so much available, but so many things that people struggle with on a day-to-day basis. And when they finally come to the place where they're going to do something about it, what's your experience with your program and people actually sticking to it?
I think that a lot of my people are sticking to it because there's some uniqueness to it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of lingo, there's a lot of language, there's a lot of coaching going on there. But, you said something a second ago that I just want to touch on, and that is what's something that is in alignment with yourself. Mm-hmm. But how many of us don't even know ourselves enough to even know what our alignment is?
Yeah,
so I do steps on helping you figure out what is in alignment with. What are your core beliefs? What are your emotional anchors that might be holding you down after things that aren't serving you now? Mm-hmm. Walking through a timeline of your life, looking at times where you may have gained weight at a certain time, thinking about what was it during that time. Was it childbirth, loss? What were you feeling? What kind of core values did you learn from that? And when I say core values, I think that a lot. Think of it this way. one of my core values, always be on time, be not hurt, always do your best, never fail. So these are some of my core values. I've had to work really, really hard. Some of them have served me very well, but they cannot continue to serve me well. Such as I can't always be on time because all day long my patients run my schedule. And one patient may last longer than another. So I struggle with that time issue emotionally. I had to let that go, release that problem or that core value, because I was hitting a core value crisis where I was getting panic attack after panic attack after panic attack all day long because I was never on time.
Wow.
So does that make sense? Sometimes we have to look at our core values and recognize them for what they are, and then decide, are they serving me now, or do I need to solve that one?
One of the big things is being in integrity with, like I can be in integrity with other people and say, if I say something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow through. You can count on me to do it. And then when it comes to myself, it's like, so I was eating ice cream, and that's not in integrity with what I want, with getting a healthier body. So then there comes this, beating yourself up and the self flagellation and
Rebel's head.
Exactly. So do you have anything that you can one tip that you can give us that would help us to put that old tape to rest and look forward to being in integrity and in alignment with ourselves as we go for and here's the other thing, the being gentle with yourself. I think that a lot of people, women especially, because we wear so many different hats. I think that we tend to beat ourselves up. Help me out.
Okay. Well, if every Monday you had a date with your best friend at lunch, and it's always awesome. You connect, you bond, you support each other, you're each other's cheerleaders, each other's critics, but you always grow from it. I just love this meeting every Monday. And you do this for 6 months, and you depend on it and love it, and each of you are just really committed to this. And then one day, a friend of yours just doesn't show up. So you think, something happened, maybe it's in a car accident, a few things ran over, she'll be back with me, and she doesn't call you. And so you're worried about her, right? You don't do anything about it. Well, eventually she calls you in a couple of days, and she says, I'm so sorry, I got really busy, and then I forgot, and it's okay. We all have life in a way, and it's an easily forgivable thing. So what happens is, what if she does it the next week? And she doesn't call again. And this time she says, I'm sorry, I had an appointment, I couldn't do it. And then she does it the third time. So how do you think you might feel at this point? You trust that she may show up? You feel a little resentful and maybe even feel like she doesn't value you or your relationship anymore? This is what happens when we promise something to ourselves and we don't follow through. We lose trust in ourselves.
Yeah.
Lose respect in ourselves. And we don't believe we're going to follow through. This is what happens when we don't follow through with our own promises. The same thing if somebody did that to us. So understanding that lack of trust and respect in ourselves is really important, because now you have to build it back up. Just like you would with your friend. She would have to prove to you that you're back in her life. She would have to prove to you that she's dependable and trustworthy. And you have to do the same thing with yourself. You can't just jump into a weight loss program and say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in 6 months when you haven't even built your own self-trust yet.
Yeah.
So baby steps. You may have heard the SMART goals, the small, measurable, yes. But you really do need to be small, because you're not just doing small steps. You're doing small trust steps.
Yeah. That's huge.
So if it just means putting your shoes on every day and looking at your shoes and saying you're going to start working, right? Just to build shoes. You have to come up with baby steps and slowly build that trust up in yourself. So make them very small steps for the first week, so you can start believing that you have the ability to follow through with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what you're saying is absolutely perfect, because I think that, and I'm not alone when I say this, regardless of what the issue is, like we're gonna be courageous, and we're gonna be powerful, and we're gonna do it perfectly every time. And Life just does not allow for that to happen. No,
No.
it's just not realistic. It's just not realistic. So, yeah. Now let's talk a little bit more about your book, because your book, I think, really gets the message about being, you know, in alignment, loving yourself. Talk a little bit about your book. I'm really interested to read this book. So,
You got it. Well, the story behind that book goes, I originally wrote a book entitled Broken Bones, Soaring Soul, Ending the Cycle of Self-Harm and Abuse. Because I'm very passionate about learning to love ourselves and ending neglect, because I think that's the number one form of abuse, I believe, in our culture, and it's self-neglect. So that's how that started, and I wrote that manuscript, and I had to table it because it was just getting really deep, and it was hard work, and I had to put it on the shelf a little bit, just get a breather like sometimes we authors have to do. Well, I was at my nephew's wedding, and when he was saying his vows, he messed his vows up, and instead of saying, to thee I wed, he said, to me I thee wed. It's not a joke. When people talk about making an idea that's so loud you hear bells, yeah. I really did hear bells when they his wedding bells, I assure you. They were my own head saying, oh my gosh, that's what I need to do. I need to take what that heavy neglect and self-abuse and turn it more into a mainstream everyday system that people can relate to and recognize, and that most people can do. So the words are, be wed, love, honor, and cherish yourself. Just like when you meet somebody on the street, you say, hey, I kind of like them. Maybe a friend introduces you, and you decide, I would like to hang out with them more. So you sit down, and you get to know them, and you may interact, and if somebody you're attracted to, you may start flirting a little bit, and then over time you start dating, and eventually maybe you fall in love, become engaged, and commit and get married. I take the entire process we do with individuals and I apply it to you as an individual as you're growing and knowing who you are. I walk you through steps. What is it like to just first meet yourself? What are the things about yourself you like and dislike? What are the things that if you were dating somebody else, what are those parts of you hide until later on? And what are those things that you may express more loudly? What are the things that you may do new or differently in a dating situation with a different person than you've ever done before? So I walk these steps on getting to know yourself, learning yourself, guiding you into love of yourself so that you can become actively engaged on a daily basis with your own needs, in alignment with yourself and with integrity, so that you can commit lifelong changes, lifelong commitment, and divorce prevention with yourself. Because so many of us live in a state of feeling divorced from we don't even know what we want, need, or even have control over. So that's why I put that book, Teresa.
I love that. Divorce prevention from yourself. That's awesome. Yeah, and you know, you hear a lot of people who are coaches, a lot of people who are, working with individuals, first you have to love yourself. First you have to love yourself. First you have to love yourself. Well, okay, I've been in this place of not necessarily me, but the person hearing that would say, and although I will say me at one point in time, I've learned to grow and love myself. But the bottom line is like, if I've been beating myself up and telling myself all these bad things of myself, how am I overnight supposed to love myself? Well, from what you just told me, your book is going to help people through that process to be able to come to a space of love and compassion. Compassion, too, I think, is another one that we just don't seem to give ourselves. So, yeah, that's awesome. So we are at the half-hour mark. And I am going to open the lines for callers. If you are on the call and you have a question for Dr. Julia Bowlin, please press *6 on your phone, and I can recognize you in the queue. And hopefully she'll be able to hear you. We have a lot of people who are actually calling in from Skype. I wonder if there's a way for us to get them on here.
There's a text box on the right bottom.
Yes.
They may be able to text a question.
Yes.
So
you can text a question to Teresa Velardi, Teresa Velardi, Velardi, on Skype, if you'd rather do that, or press *6 on your phone, and we can hear you. Hopefully we can hear you. So, okay, let's see here. Anyway, this Julia, I hope you don't mind, but you're like my test run on this video thing. It's going to be awesome. So let me see. So now all my Skype people are gone now. I don't understand what just happened. Anyway, all right. So I have a question. So you know when you said when you were at your nephew's wedding and you heard that and it was like a ding, 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 the bells went off and you had to do that. One of the things that I believe is that when we are open and ready to receive a message from God, Spirit, universe, whatever you call your higher power, that somehow our awareness gets heightened and we hear the things that are necessary for us to do some of what we were actually brought here to do. So what do you suggest? I'm sure this is part of it because you've got a spiritual, we're going to talk about a spiritual intervention thing that you told me about a little bit about here in this information. But what would you suggest for people who are like, not sure about, or think that they may not have what it takes in order to be able to do what you did. You heard this, you recognize it as it is yours to write the book, and then that has been like, was that a stepping stone to your program? So let's talk about that a little bit and how that works.
Well, let's go back a little bit to the intuitive acceptance point. Y'all do, without a doubt, have the ability to accept our own intuition. But again, if you don't love, honor, and trust yourself, you're not going to trust that intuitive path that comes across. So you have to build that level of trust, just like I was just talking about. And then you have to release the control over what's coming in. Mm-hmm. So many times we don't trust what our thought patterns are doing or what our intuitive thing and the person on our shoulder is saying to us, because we have been trained to be so busy outside ourselves, outside of our body, so busy reaching over in one area or another to another family member, another person, another digital object, that digital distress. We're so digitally overloaded that we forget to stop and breathe, release the tension, and feel what actually comes into our heart and mind. So in order to do that, you actually have to take a moment to shut everything else out. Mm-hmm. And just become aware. And it usually happens if I've had 4 true heavy spiritual redirections in my life. And they all happened. And I was walking across a yard or driving in a car or looking in a pond. And in the midst of emotional chaos, I took the time to look at the pond. And that's when my first spiritual intervention that shifted my direction of my life first.
Mm-hmm. So you've had 4 of these, you said? Mm-hmm. And they all have led you. Has one been a stepping stone upon another to lead you to where you want to go, or where you're going now? Or were they taking you in different directions at some point?
They were each different types of directions. One had to do with the relationship with my husband. One had to do with the relationship with my entire product development on the personal wellness program. One had to do with the fact that my degree an undergraduate is anthropology, and I was 6 months away from graduate when I was walking across the oval, and I heard, "You're going to medical school," and I said, "No," and I looked up and I heard, "You're going to medical school," and I have a degree in socioanthropology. How am I going to medical school? Well, I listened, and within 3 hours, I was signed up to finish up the med program.
Wow. Yeah.
I had built that level of trust up to that point. So you have to, it wasn't a whim because I wasn't even remotely thinking about medical school this time.
Yeah.
I was thinking about graduating and doing an archaeological dig. It was nowhere on my radar. So when those things come into your head, you're like, really? You need to think about that.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah. And I think that, trusting God, trusting ourselves, that this trust issue touches a lot of different areas in life. And if, one of the things that I've learned to do is to pay attention, listen to the whispers. And what I've discovered is that if I don't listen to the whisper, it gets a little louder. It gets a little louder. And sometimes it becomes a booming voice that says, Teresa, do something differently, So that I love that. And I love that you call them spiritual interventions. So question, do you still have interest in the socioanthropology? Do you still want to go do an archaeological dig?
I love, everything that I'm doing right now has to do with sociology and the study of cultures and yeah, I love it. I love learning about other cultures and belief systems and different religious practices. And I love being open, and I encourage everybody to be open to learning about other cultures and religions and belief systems, because what does it do but opens you up for the possibility of a different type of thinking process. And that is what self-growth and faith is trusting in the ability to learn and grow and be somebody better based on what you're experiencing in life.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly right. So let's talk about how people can learn more about your program.
Well, there's 2 ways. You can go to my main website, which is JuliaBowlinMD.com. That's JuliaBowlinM as in Mary, D as in David.com. And then my course is personalawarenessmedicine.com. So you can have access to both of my websites on both of those links. There's information about the course, there's information about personal awareness medicine. I've got a free online course webinar, 1 hour on emotional spark that you may find helpful. Have a class on Mr. Best Year Ever. There's a lot of information on the website that's free and that's helpful.
Awesome. And you do have a program that people can invest in for themselves, yes? Yeah.
Yes.
So talk about that a little bit, the POWAR program, and what that investment would be for the listeners.
Yeah, it's the POWAR program called PAWAR, stands for Personal Awareness and Responsibility. It's all about breaking your things down between how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and how you're behaving in your everyday life, and that modules that we talked about. That is $297, and it's a life-changing program. I've had wonderful responses, and I encourage everybody to have it stop and taking the time to dive into who you are. Now's the time. You just need to reach out and invest in yourself, because you need to ask yourself one major question. What is it costing me not to do these things? What is it costing me not to pay attention to my own health and well-being?
I think that's a question that most people don't ask themselves, which it leads right into what I want to ask you about your experience in your medical practice with people who are more personally aware and responsible. Do you find that they are overall generally healthier and require less medical intervention? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When you are with the the phone, it's probably going to ring forever. When you're a proactive around care, diseases tend to be less prevalent. There's no doubt about it. Preventing inflammation, such as avoiding things that are harmful to the body. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So paying attention to what you're putting on your body, in your body, around your body. And when you do these things, inflammation goes down, your pain improves, your stress level reduces, so you sleep better. You don't have what I call chaos of the mind. Cluttered head acting out of sync. Your emotions and your thoughts and behaviors actually work together and make sense rather than stress you out and overwhelm you. So when you take care of yourself in ways that help you think clearly, feel better, behave better, have peace of mind, joy in your heart, energy in your step, diseases don't happen often when you have those things going on in your life.
Right, because disease is really dis-ease, lack of ease in the body, in the mind, in the spirit. So it's all connected. Can you give me an example, of course without names, of anyone that you can think of that has had the most dramatic transformation utilizing your program? Can you tell us a story about that?
Yeah, one of the types of people I really, really enjoy are the middle-aged, overweight truckers. I have a lot of trucking, these are truckers, guys who live in a truck all day long, sometimes 16 hours a day. They typically eat horribly, morbidly obese, and most of them have diabetes and hypertension. And it's amazing when I gave them the option, because they can't watch my videos. Like, I'm just going to give you the audio. I'm just going to give you the audio, all right? You have time on your hands. Listen to the audio. And it's amazing how transformative it is when you actually take the time to do something for yourself. Because that's building that trust back, right? So this trucker came back to me after 3 months, and he had lost like 50 pounds. And he just didn't have that sad, drawn in, exhausted look. I said, what is going on? He says, well, I just listened. And I said, what do you mean you just listened? He said, I just listened. I don't think I ever did anything positive for myself before. But, it's such a simple thing. So just by listening and doing something positive for himself, he just made those small changes that I was talking about. And when he parked his truck farther away from the truck stop, he was walking more. So making that one little step led him, like, if I'm going to walk more, I'm going to eat a little bit better. But he just made little steps. It wasn't things he didn't already know. He already knew he could walk more. He already knew he could eat better. But just listening to something, take the time to invest in his growth with that split. So he is not diabetes anymore. He has lost a tremendous amount of weight. And his knees do not need surgery, which he was told he was going to have, because being overweight is hard on your back and your feet. So it's just a wonderful. He's my
superstar.
He's my superstar.
He's your superstar.
I love when sometimes it's just a switch that you need to flip in your own head. You need the platform to guide you and support you while you're flipping it. To be that cheerleader behind you, because so many of us women don't have a good cheerleader supporting us, pushing us in the care and the keeping of ourselves.
Right.
So I encourage everybody to find somebody.
Yeah, I think that's really important, the relationships, especially with other people who are going through the same thing or wanting to link arms with you, so to speak, and, walk the journey together. I think that with society, and with things being so like this online and people are spending so much time on the computer, I think that getting out and, doing something differently is less of a priority than being on the computer or whatever else. And this texting, this conversation, having conversation through text is just like, we all do it because sometimes we have to. But the bottom line is that you lose that interaction with each other, and that you talked about this space, making sure that this space is different, around you, inside, in your head and around you. And it just floors me that, I remember pre-internet and my life was a lot different, and we get lazy. We spend too much time sitting down, and that's probably one of my biggest things. But I love your truck driver story. My family, talking about the weight situation, my family, my sister and my brother-in-law both recently had gastric bypass surgery. And, they're like, Teresa, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And my heart is like, I'm not afraid of many things. And it just says, trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. What's good for somebody else may not be good for you. And, I think that the way from what I've learned about you during this conversation, and from some information you've given me, and from what I've seen online, because I've looked at your website and looked at some of the things that you have available there, I think that as much as what you say is universal, it's also very personal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have to let go of the universal conversation that comes across, that you think is coming across, and really take it in on a personal level in order to be able to create the change, the transformation that you'd like to in your life. So, I don't know if people are in the queue or not, because this thing keeps flashing on and off. It's crazy. But is there anything else that you want to offer to the listeners as information, or something that a key to transformation that you have found in your journey?
Sure. We talked about that permission piece and understanding core values. I think it's also important to recognize two other things, and those are, I mentioned emotional anchors, and those emotional anchors I have an entire module on, and it has to do with hate, shame, blame, fear, and regret. And many of us live in a state of carrying these emotions around, and they resurface when we don't want them to, or they resurface and we don't know how to handle that overwhelming experience of those emotions, because the emotional memory associated with those anchors is so important and tied to our past. So I just would like, to recognize that in order to be transformative, you're going to have to learn to release those emotional anchors, have to change, and do the work. And sometimes you just need a program like mine, or many other people that are on this wonderful Transformational Tuesdays, finding something that helps you monster over those emotional anchors of hate, shame, blame, fear, and regret. Mm-hmm. And then also understand the internal conversations inside that, how you speak to yourself, being transformative, flipping a negative to a positive, and understanding that your critic, your cheerleader, your force, your intuitive knowledge, your actor, which you may be pretending all the time, these need to be in alignment at all times. You're doing some work on I call it lonely work, but it's amazingly empowering. And look who's ruling the roost on your emotional internal gremlins and conversations.
Right. So those, I'm sure that those anchors that are no longer serving you, I'm sure that you replace them with something that does, yes?
Actually, amazing when you release hate, shame, blame, fear, and regret, how wonderfully light you feel.
Awesome.
There's no need to replace those.
I got chills on my body. That means that's true. I always pay attention to that. When somebody is giving me a bit of information, usually that's would be true for me. So when, huge. And I think that we tend to, walk around with a lot of that. And that really needs to be cleared out. And what about self-forgiveness? How does that, or forgiveness or self-forgiveness, how does that play into your work? That's another conversation that we often have here, because people hold on to things like they were gold, and really they're, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say mud.
Well, forgiveness happens when you forgive somebody, it imparts a level of resolution. Mm-hmm. So forgiveness, I'm sure you've all heard something or another, doesn't mean you're condoning what somebody else did. Right? It means you're allowing resolution, you're allowing it to control your life or their life any longer, and you're moving forward. They're still accountable for behavior in your own heart, but you're releasing them of the obligation to harm you.
Right.
So, for example, I was sexually abused when I was younger. I had to release that, forgive the individual, so I could move on.
Right.
See this individual frequently, and we are no longer harboring angst and resentment and anger and hate and shame and blame and regret and fear. So on.
Right.
You have to first take that step to resolve, forgive, and then rebuild in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that people don't realize that unforgiveness is really not hurting the other person; it's hurting yourself. It's hurting yourself. I heard somebody say unforgiveness and resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
We're just poisoning ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our lives, the lives of others, perhaps, because I think when we're in a place of unforgiveness or in any of these things that you've cited here, hate, blame, shame, fear, and regret, they tend to roll over into our relationships that we would like to have them as healthy and pure. But in the meanwhile, it's like the baggage thing. You take everything with you into every conversation, into every relationship in some shape or form until you resolve it.
Right. Yeah. Unless you do it, you're feeling the heavy weight of it, and it's going to rear its ugly head in ways that you just didn't expect.
Yeah.
And it may be not losing weight. It may be the harboring of weight.
Yeah. Funny you should say heavy. The heavy weight of it. Yeah.
It can literally weigh on you.
Yes, I'm in agreement, and I'm finding that what I'm learning on this journey of releasing this is that it really has less to do with food consumption than it does to what I hold on to. Yeah. This exactly. I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
Those people on the call, we were patting our heads and our hearts.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I forget. So yeah, putting the heads and the heart together. So tell me again how people can contact you, how people can get in touch with you, your website, any email address that you'd like to give for people to connect with you. And one more time, tell us about the PAWAR program that they can get online.
You got it. The PAWAR program is all about you, and it's a prescription for a healthier, wealthier, wiser you, straight from the doctor's mouth. That would be me. And it walks you step by step from a person who's been there, who's really struggled with depression and anxiety and eating disorders and self-harm. I know what it's like to feel divorced from yourself. I know what it needs to take because of my degrees in social anthropology and my degree in medicine, what it takes to recover, grow, and build into yourself a better you. So my program is online. It's through JuliaBowlinMD.com, as well as PersonalAwarenessMedicine.com. My email address is Julia@JuliaBowlin, that's BOWLIN, MD.com.
Okay, awesome.
Book is To Me, Ivy Wed, Love, Honor, and Cherish Yourself Forever After. And it's available on Amazon.
I was just going to ask you that. And all this information will be available on Transformational Tuesdays. And you can watch this video recording on transformationaltuesdays.online and get to see our beautiful guest, Julia Bowlin, who has really during this time given me a lot of information, and I'm sure our listeners are saying the same thing, a lot of information, and a lot of hope, and a lot of awareness that things can be different if you choose for them to be. So, as everyone is listening to this, we are all transforming. If you weren't in a transformational process, you wouldn't be part of this Transformational Tuesdays conversation. So I invite you to get in touch with Dr. Julia Bowlin for the information that she has shared with us today, and to connect with her and possibly, be one of her success stories. Let's together do something that's going to be different than what we're used to doing. They say when you do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that is the definition of insanity. And I have been in the insane lane far too long in my life. So make a change. Be positively transformed. Be in touch with Dr. Julia Bowlin and come back to Transformational Tuesdays next week for another transformational conversation. In the meanwhile, this week, travel is what I call the transformational trails of life, happiness, wholeness, and hope for your future. Thanks so much for being with us, Dr. Julia. Have a great day.
You too.